Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and I'm the owner, creator, and coach for Believe in Better Finances. So for today's topic, what I wanted to talk to you guys about was actually discussing the topic of what I call sinking funds, or really it's kind of boiling down to saving for your financial goals. And in particularly, I wanted to share with you what my sinking funds are going to be for 2016 between me and my husband and our household. So for those of you that are not familiar with the term sinking funds, you may have heard that term passed around when people talk about budgeting, and while it may sound like you're sinking your budget, actually it's doing the complete opposite. It's being proactive with the income and the savings that you want to put aside, rather than being reactive about having to pay for large ticket items that come up. So I thought maybe this video would be helpful to some of you who are looking to become better savers, and kind of show you examples of what my husband and I have sat down and discussed as far as what we see our financial goals being for 2016 and what we're going to shoot to save for throughout the coming year. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started, and just as an example, as a visual for those of you that want to do it, and you could do this same way. Some people want to put their money in envelopes like these where they set aside money. They'll write on the envelope what they're saving for, and then put money in it as they go to the ATM every pay period and just keep adding to it. I think envelopes are a great system as far as keeping track and keeping your money separate for different savings goals. However, I would just caution you, like with anything, if you keep large amounts of cash at home, I would highly recommend that you keep it in a fireproof, locked safe or a gun safe, something where it's going to be very hard to get to, or hopefully wouldn't burn up with a house fire or something like that. When I refer to my sinking funds, one of the things that my husband and I do is we actually have an online bank account. So basically there's very limited branches, so it makes it hard to get to. We almost have to do an electronic transfer if we need to have access to some of this cash. But that works for us because it makes us less tempted to try to tap into these savings sources unless it's for, real emergencies. So with that, you might go to bankrate.com and look for banks that offer high yield savings accounts. A lot of them you can start with a very low balance. You don't need something crazy like $5,000 or $10,000 to start, but they may earn up to about 1% on a basic savings account, which is pretty good out there. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump in and talk about the sinking funds that my husband and I are going to be doing or putting into place in 2016. So I'm going to start off and show you the first one. So I don't know if you can see that, but the first one is going to be our emergency fund. Now, we actually worked a plan to get out of debt a couple years ago. I guess we've been out of debt for maybe 5 years now. And we've since put an emergency fund in place, but as life happens, there's going to be times where you may have to tap your emergency fund. In which case, anytime we do that, we always make it a priority out of all of our savings goals is to replenish whatever we've taken out. So just the last few months at the end of 2015, we've been good all year and haven't had to touch it. But at the end of the year, I was informed that I was going to have some dental work done. And if you've ever had dental work done, you understand that it can be very expensive to get done. So we did touch our emergency fund a little bit so I can get those the work done that I needed to get completed. And so with that, our first priority at the beginning of the year, and actually right now even, is we're taking the remaining money that we have left out of our budget and putting that back to replenishing our emergency fund. So that's sinking fund number one, which we kind of already have in place and have had in place the last few years. But good tip to always remember, if you don't have one, obviously you want to work on getting one set up. And if you do tap into it, you want to work as quickly as possible to replenish any money you take from it, so that way it's there in case you need it the next time. So the next three are going to be something we're going to work on in unison. So as we go do our budget month to month, any money that we can squeeze out or have left over from our budget is going to be divided up into these three categories. So the first of the three is going to be our vehicle replacement funds for my husband. So during getting out of debt, we did not want to go and buy another vehicle. We didn't want any more payments. And so we've been driving around older vehicles the last several years, and it's just getting to the point that they're going to need a lot of work. So we're trying to be, again, proactive by starting to figure out what we want to spend on our next vehicle, and we're dividing that out by the number of pay periods that we're going to have coming up to the point in when we think we're going to be ready to buy our next vehicle. So that's the first one. That's probably going to be our largest sinking fund. It's going to take us probably the longest as well. So that's number 2. We're in the month of December if you're watching this video at the moment when I'm recording it. So it's hard to think that I'm planning for Christmas in 2016 when we still haven't yet had Christmas in 2015. But again, when January 1 comes, or that first pay period in January hits, I'm going to divide out my paychecks between my husband and I and start putting money in a savings account, or it could be in an envelope like this. So that way, whenever Black Friday deals come around after Thanksgiving, we'll have cash ready to do some online shopping or go to the stores and not get tempted to charge it on a credit card. There's nothing worse than charging stuff on a credit card and then you look up and it's March and you're still paying on Christmas. So I think this is a good sink fund for anybody to have in place. You might not need a new vehicle replacement or anything like that, but pretty much everybody who celebrates Christmas is going to want to buy a gift or 2 or 3. So start putting money aside for that, and that way you'll be less stressed when it comes to the holidays next year. The third one, or actually the fourth one besides the emergency fund, is a total want. So a lot of these that I've mentioned are kind of in a way a need. We definitely need an emergency fund. We're going to need a new vehicle at some point, or at least a new to us vehicle. And then, Christmas savings is just going to be helpful, so that way we don't reach for a credit card or run short on money. But this one for me is a total want. So it's going to be a Christmas light fund. So this year, my husband and I, we actually went and bought a new home over the summer. And so as anybody who's bought a home knows, it's very expensive. You got down payment, closing costs, everything you have to do just to get moved in and get settled in with those costs associated with buying another home. So with that, I really wanted to put Christmas lights on our house this year, but it just was not in the budget. But my husband agreed that he would be fine if we wanted to put Christmas lights on the house next year. So what I did was I had a couple of the Christmas light installation companies that were in our neighborhood this year come out and give me a quote. So I've got a pretty good idea what it's going to cost to get a Christmas lights, custom Christmas lights put on our house next year. So I'm basically dividing that out by 24 payments. So up to November or Thanksgiving, the week of Thanksgiving, we can get it put on right after that, to where I'll have money set aside for something that's a fun thing, that's a complete want. So depending on how the year goes, the sinking funds that are more of a want type thing rather than a need, this could also go away depending on what happens throughout the year. We may need this money for something else, but in the meantime, I'm going to plan for it and hope for the best, and if not, life goes on, right? All right, so those are basically our main ones that we're gonna really work on throughout the year. Again, the amounts of what's going to go in them, that's not necessarily to share with you guys, but again, this could, depending on what you're saving for, could vary based on your income levels, your current debt situation, and what other priorities you have going on in your life. But those are just some that, like I said, I wanted to share that we're doing within our household for 2016. The last one that we'll probably work on as well is going to be our vacation fund. So we have a pretty good idea of where we want to go, but again, it just kind of depends on how we do money-wise with these other goals that we've set in place for ourselves. So this probably won't start really putting money into this until the end of the year, but nonetheless, we've kind of got a mental note listed out, so that way we know that we can start setting money aside once that vehicle gets here, and we can start saving for other things like vacations. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, and also be sure and leave a comment below and tell me about what kind of sinking funds that you plan to do for your household in 2016. Thank you so much, and be sure and subscribe so you can stay tuned for future videos, all things money. Bye.